Alright then guys, welcome to the video, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, Tom is back and he has his FK2 here now instead. I thought this was quite an interesting question slash something you actually went through a few years ago, which is, does it make sense to buy a standard EP3 and modify it, or just buy an FK2? So this video today is hopefully going to give some sort of insight into, well, I guess one, your decision to do exactly that, but also I just thought it would be interesting to see my thoughts on whether I also made the right choice and went down the route of modifying it. Some little backstory here. So Tom, you had a black EP3, what, 5 years ago?
I sold that in end of 2018, like October, November sort of time. And
then you bought this?
And this has been ever since, yeah. Right. So I've had it like 4.5 years now.
And obviously in that 4.5 year time period, I ended up doing pretty much everything to this. So this video is going to be exploring which option for you makes the most sense if this is a question you've asked yourself. We've got the bonnet of both cars open, so we'll give you some quick headline figures. So Tom, what sort of power do these things make?
Standard, according to the catalogue and everyone else, 306 horsepower and 400 newton meters of torque. I think that's 295 foot-pounds. This has not got any real power modifications. I've got a K&N panel filter and a Tegua B pipe on it. If that's increased the power, it's not a noticeable amount. I'm just gonna say it's still got 306, you know, maybe 307 at a push.
So that's, I think, also why this will be so interesting, because this is pretty much how you would buy one of these out the box, really. For comparison, my car is obviously running 254 horsepower. It's got only 222 newton meters of torque, really not that much. But this is obviously NA and this is obviously turbocharged. So this was the first generation where Honda upgraded to the turbocharged K20 engine. So realistically, when you're looking at these sort of things, obviously this has had quite a lot of money spent on it to get it to this point. But the money that is invested into this could, in theory, go towards paying for a car like this. What we'll do actually, we'll jump out in the FK2 and let's see what this thing is like in the driver's seat. Right.
Oh, who was in here last?
Wow, this is very different to the EP3.
It's like wrap around, a bit Supra-ish.
What's cool as well is it is driver focused, like everything is
pointing at you, yeah, yeah.
Is it like keyless and everything as well?
Yeah, keyless, yeah, just put your foot on the clutch and press the magic button, yeah.
All right, this is, yeah, legit my first ever drive in any newer Type R than mine. I don't think I've ever driven an FN2, so this is like...
most modern.
He looks so nervous.
No one's driven this, like...
I feel very honoured.
Unless they've been like at the garage or something.
Right, I'm not gonna go crazy, because...
Yeah, that'd be all right, it'd be fine. If you press on the steering wheel, this button, if we hold that down, you'll get, there you go, all the temperatures of everything.
Oh, nice.
That one on the far right, 66, when that gets like to 80, that's warm. We can give it the beans then.
Nice. It is cool that all it is a B pipe, and it's just giving it something.
Oh god, they are silent standard. I think it's criminal, like how a car can look as wild as this
and be as quiet as it is.
There's no noise. But the B pipe's cool for the money it costs. It's like a fifth of the price of like any catback exhaust system. It just opens it up, makes it so much nicer.
That's like 20% throttle, the turbo kicks in.
I don't think it's all the time, but I think when it's in like plus R, it makes full torque at like 2,500 RPM.
Oh really, that low down?
Yeah.
Well, just from like a modern technology, I mean, I've obviously put like the Apple CarPlay screen in the EP3, but that's as far as it goes. Like all these gauges at the top here, that's super cool. Like I'd love to have a screen as well as that.
It's got so much stuff in it you don't need to use. It's got like a calculator and a calendar, for crying out loud. Like, you're never going to look at any of these things.
So the steering is like, you just don't need to put the input in, like, no. It's really direct. What temperature do you say it has to be?
That'd be fine.
Right, let's do a third gear pulse for about 4,000 RPM here. Let's see what it's like. It's interesting because it feels similar in terms of the effortlessness of it as with mine. We're not in the plus R mode, are we? So it's a bit like sluggish, so to speak, but that's just because we're in the comfort mode or whatever.
Yeah, like aircon on.
Yeah.
So.
But even still, like, because this is how it is out the box, just even like that, I do understand why you made the choice you did.
I don't be wrong, it was a really difficult one because it was almost a case of like, if I sold my EP3 and put that money into something, well, into this obviously, I was thinking to myself, you know, I've got a bit of money, I can spend the money doing the upgrades to the EP, like
basically what I've done.
Doing the diff, suspension, intake, exhaust stuff. You know, I probably wouldn't have done cams, but that was never on my radar. But it's not something I thought about. But who knows? Like, if I'd started, I might not have stopped.
Yeah,
you just don't know. I can make this work. Why not? I'll just try it.
Yeah.
As long as I've ever owned a car.
If anything, that tells you something, doesn't it?
Like longest, my black EP3 was the one I'd had the longest. I had that just over 2 years, like 2 years and a month or something. Huge financial commitment, obviously spending like the kind of money this costs like in 2018. My personal opinion, like owning it, obviously like with a huge bias towards the car, is I don't think there's much you can get at this price point that seems this special. I never see them. There aren't many of them.
See way more FK8s nowadays than these.
And when you do see one, like, it's a bit, you know, like everyone sort of like waves at you and stuff, and it's pretty cool. And it gets a lot of attention. You know, if you do have a bit of fun with another car, the amount of things that like must get surprised by that.
Yeah, I personally think anything sub 400 horsepower you can use in this country like most of the time.
Yeah.
And so this being 306, like, it's still at that point where you can use all of it most of the time. So it's actually still a fun car to drive, and the fact that it's a manual, just from like sitting in it, is just so much more dailyable than the EP3. It's quieter in like it's like just, you feel more cocooned in a car, and rather than it just being rattly and everything, and then the turbo spooling up to like give you low end torque.
Tell you what is nice as well, the amount of fuel this thing uses is so low compared to what you think it would be.
Really? Yeah. Nice. Which I think is the same with the Civic, the EP3. I keep saying the Civic because I'm just like in another Civic.
Which one?
Yeah, I think the EP3 is similar to me. Like, you get like 30 something miles to the gallon in that.
This is better than the EP3.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that.
It's crazy because it's got 50% more power.
Yeah.
Like, then talk about like the standard one that I have, and it gets, I don't know, maybe like 30-40 more miles to the tank. If you drive like a lunatic, like,
obviously, like in any car,
watch the fuel gauge go down pretty much. It's nuts. But when you're being sensible, it will turn up to 45 on the motorway, like, with ease.
Something I have literally just then noticed though is that your sense of speed is very different in this. You feel like you're going slower than you are.
What do you find the visibility's like? Because I think the A-pillars with the wind deflectors, it makes it like impossible. There's such a huge blind spot.
Yeah, and like having the two split rear, there's like a blind spot straight across.
That's mad. Like, if someone's following you close enough, like, you can't read the number plate or anything.
Right, let's do a second gear pull, see what it's like. This is still not in plus R mode, so I assume there's a little bit of lag. Damn, it is pretty rad. It definitely needs a blow-off valve or something though. You can just about hear the standard one. Like,
even Venturi, their like intake on it, it's just like one of the nicest sounding things. Like, it's fantastic. But
it's big money though, isn't it?
You're looking at like £2,000.
Wow.
And then you'd have to get it mapped in, so you're probably looking at maybe like 2,500 quid. It's a lot of money just for a cool noise. Panel filter was like 65, 70 quid or whatever it was when I bought it. But the Venturi does sound cool and it looks nicer.
Yeah.
And you get like, I think it's 30 brake once it's mapped in.
Wow.
So it's quite a big jump for just an Intel, so it's a turbo car.
If you're literally just hunting for numbers, an EP3 is never going to be the car for you unless you turbo it.
Sure, if you get like a panel filter and just map it, it's like 360, like easy. Catback exhaust, change to a D cap.
Yeah.
And the Venturi, you probably, after a map, looking at like 415, 420 brake. You put it in plus R over the other side, just press the button.
What, this?
No, that. Oh yeah, it's sort of hidden. It's hidden. Ship position.
So that's it. Oh, we're literally.
Yeah, we're in it now.
It does rev hang quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a dual mass flywheel.
Yeah, it's so mad having that little turbo kick. Like you just. Yeah, it's undisputably faster.
I really thought your EP3 with the power it makes and just the fact it probably, I don't know, it's probably like 300 kilos minimum less it weighs. I really thought that was going to be like, I don't know if it's because it's turbo, you just get that punch, you know, you've got like a
I think the torque, yeah, the torque figure is what really separates the two, I think.
God, yeah. Thought otherwise, you know, there's probably not going to be much difference in terms of the actual just raw speed of the cars. There might not be, it might just be the sensation because you're just chasing the horsepower, you're just revving it out constantly, like you don't have to here.
I think it really depends on what you're looking for from a car to whether this is better than the EP3 for that. It is such a tough one though, because it's like, if it was literally, well, how much do these go for? Obviously this is going to change depending when you watch this video, but...
I think, well, they've been pretty stable for a while, depending on like owner's mileage. You're probably looking at like 25k for a pretty good...
Right, okay.
Good one, like less than 50,000 miles.
So to get my Civic to where it is, you're probably looking at like 15 to 18 if you're buying the car, like, so you buy the car and do all the stuff I've done to performance wise anyway, not all the other bit. It's probably like, yeah, 15 to 18 grand. So it's sort of like, yeah, if you had the money on the table, I think it depends on what you want from the car, to which I think is the move. But considering this is pretty much a standard car, it's very impressive.
It's not like a 700 horsepower car, like it's not scary, but do you think it's like easy to drive?
Yeah, so to me actually it doesn't feel that different to drive to my car. I think it does feel different to drive compared to your standard EP3.
Oh god, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't feel like scared or like out of my depth with this compared to mine, because it does seem to handle things the same. When
you press the plus R button as well, you know steering's heavier. You turn it off, feel it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I suppose that's the other thing, is it does feel like it's like the EP3 with coilovers.
I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone says like these are really difficult to live with, whatever, but I've never found that when you are in plus R and like the state of some of the roads, that is not great. Yeah. But the best bit is you can turn it off. Like if you have coilovers, maybe...
That was the point I was about to make.
Maybe like at best.
You realistically here, you have two cars.
Yeah.
The EP3, you have to just choose what you want and leave it like that. Also, yeah, you've got cruise control in this. That's something...
Oh, it's got everything, like cruise control, auto lights, auto wipers, parking sensors, reverse camera, sat nav, like stuff that you'd obviously head unit with the CarPlay in it, sort of like sync all that up to the car. But then this is what, 12 years newer? Yeah. I think as an all-round package, this is superior to the EP3. I don't know if this makes me smile as much as the EP3. It is sick. Like the theatre's not quite the same.
Yeah.
When you're driving this car like quickly, it's ridiculous. Like it just monsters roads.
Yeah.
In ways that I've never owned cars in the past that could ever do it.
Yeah.
And like there is loads of stuff out there. You know, it's not the only car in the world that can get down a B road quickly.
Okay, let's head back and we'll go out on the EP3. I don't really need to drive this car because I drive it all the time, so I thought I'd let Tom have another go and we can sort of do a back-to-back comparison. Try and make some sort of sense out of what is the best option. To be honest, at this point in time, if you're looking just for a daily, I think the FK2 is the move, but I feel like this is more of a raw driving experience, but not by much, and I think that's why that car is so great.
I don't know, maybe FN2.
Oh!
Could you imagine? Back in the Transit.
Yeah. Realistically, the cams is another big expense because you got to do cams and injectors and injector clips for the cams to even work. So like, it's basically another grand. Most people aren't really going to do them. The only reason I actually ended up doing the cams was because I needed to do the exhaust to get more power anyway. And I was like, well, if I'm going to pay for another map just for an exhaust, if I'm ever going to do cams, now is the time to do them.
Yeah.
The noise isn't as cool as the standard engine noise though. They properly sound like a Transit.
Yeah, it's a bit, if you didn't know, like it's a bit alarming.
Yeah, it fully sounds like something's wrong, doesn't
it? Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously louder, and that you can obviously change with yours anyway.
Because we were obviously asking, is it worth modifying it or buying a stock car? So I could make my car louder, but then you'd be spending like 20 whatever buying it.
That is true. Yeah, so if you're purely looking at it as a modified one of these versus a standard one of those, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Then obviously you've only had to go like through the mapping and exhaust and everything else cycles to try and get the power. And now you've already got more.
The other reason why I like this car now is because I've made it my own, and I do feel like I wouldn't be able to leave a car standard. I like making it how I want it to be. Yeah. The benefits to this car over the FK2 is the price of parts. They're so cheap. I didn't realise how cheap they were until I was looking for S2000 stuff, and I was like, oh wow. The fact that you can buy a standard one of these and fully modify it for less than the cost of the FK2.
And you've still got cheaper like consumables as well. Like
yeah.
Brakes and tyres.
Yeah, that is very true.
FK2, so they're really expensive. Like if you get a decent tyre, like these Pilot Sport 5s that you've got on here, if you wanted them for the FK2, you're probably looking at like 180, 200 pound a tyre.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So for a full set for this, I paid about 400.
A really good set of tyres, 800 quid to £1,000 fitted.
Wow.
Like, it's a lot of money, and then the brakes obviously are enormous. So you have more money there as well. Like front discs are like 400 quid. It's a lot of money.
This just doesn't get old.
This is good.
It is so sick. This car just makes me smile.
No, it is fun. It is good fun. The EP3, you can buy that car, and like you said, like it's a good car. Like you can have a lot of fun in it, and spend very little money doing it.
Yeah.
And you can't spend a small amount of money getting any of the newest Civics, especially like the brand new one. They're just so expensive.
Yeah.
We're not really making much of a conclusion.
I know, it's tough because both have their benefits and both have their downsides.
Yeah.
It's actually a really hard comparison. For me personally, and I think it is a personal decision based on what you would do as well, I think I've made the right choice for me, because at this point I couldn't justify having a monthly cost going out for payment on a car, so I'd want to own it outright. And I've made it how I want it to be, all under the price of an FK2. It being mine and how I want it got further cemented to me when I bought the S2000, because that is also an amazing car standard, but I don't love it as much as this because this is how I want this car. And so like modifying it is such a major part for me.
Someone said to me, like, oh, we're going to take your FK2 away and give me this. I'd probably be a bit miffed that like someone had stolen my car, but I'd be like well happy with this, because like it's nice, like it drives really well.
For me, the FK2 is sick. It ticks all of the boxes, and like it enhances them on some of them on this. But it's this that I can't let that experience go. For me, I think I would still have this.
That's what I was trying to say earlier when we were in my car. It's not more theatrical. That is like the raw thing about this car.
And I think that's one of my favourite things about this car. Anyway, let's pull up and come up with some sort of final conclusion. There is no definitive answer here, and I think the best way of doing it basically is going, and I suppose this would be the same question to you, Tom. Let's say you're stood here and you're handed the keys to both, and it's literally pick one. What do you choose? I would go with this.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong though, like this is sick. I understand why you've chosen that. I guess today also solidifies that you made the right choice. For
me, yeah.
And I just feel like this car is in just another like price bracket in terms of purchasing it, and also all the mods and stuff to do to it. And what I love about cars is modifying them. And so that's why I think this car has been so good, because it's relatively cheap to modify. I guess really for you guys, the same question applies, is like, which one do you choose? There is no wrong answer here. I think it really is like whatever you prefer.
If you had £6,000 and you wanted to buy a stock car to modify, you buy an EP3. If you wanted a Honda, you buy an EP3. If you had £20,000, you buy an FK2 or an FKA. It really just depends.
Your budget and your lifestyle, I suppose, and what you can afford.
But as much as this is good, there's nothing like old Vtec.
Yeah, and I think that's why I go this way.
That is why I've got a stock one.
And yeah, that's why you bought another one. So I guess you win overall really, because you got both.
Oh, well.
But what it does show is that it is still a Civic Type R. They are so similar, but yeah, that turbo does just change. Well,
Changes the dynamic of everything, yeah.
Would
you sell that and your S2000 to make up the money to buy one of these or an FK8? Exactly.
I guess my heart lies in early 2000s Hondas.
Yeah.
I guess also like the journey of modifying it, it's not like you just go, there you go. The journey I've been on to do everything, like there's cool stories behind buying parts and like installing stuff and all that kind of thing that I guess goes along with ownership of something like this. And to do the same with this is completely doable, but it is just another level of price. So hopefully this video hasn't been completely useless, because we haven't really answered the question at the beginning of the video, have we? This has been terrible, but I hope it's at least like shone some light on what these things are like to own and what they're like to drive. Thanks again to Tom for bringing your car down, let me drive it and being part of the video. Don't forget guys, we've got 2 more videos with Tom on the channel as well, so go check those out. Plus loads of other EP3 content and S2000 content, so go check that out too. Definitely comment down below which of these 2 you're choosing. Don't forget to like this one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.